Welcome to the Live Wide Open podcast. I'm your host, Randy B. Ramirez, also known as Wide Open Randy, and I'm here to lead you to become the best version of yourself. This show helps raise the bar for all the motorsport enthusiasts, those who want more out of life, those who want to do more, those who want to be more, those who love the thrill, the joy, and the connection of what these high performance engines bring into our lives. Because holding it wide open is just what we do. Being a good fucking person is who we are, and living our lives to the fullest is the lifestyle that we choose. And today we're going to be talking about how, when you embrace aggressive patience with your build, you will eventually complete those much needed milestones. And those milestones that I'm talking about is what we're shooting for all the necessary steps towards you being out on the street and ripping and enjoying the shit out of your ride. So wouldn't you think that hitting those milestones, those necessary steps, are critical for you to fucking enjoy this much needed ride that you want in your life? Right? Because without them, the car remains useless in your garage. It remains like a piece of metal on jack stands. I know how that feels. That shit sucks. So when I say let the boost load, what I'm really saying is that you should have patience while you continue to put in the motherfucking work. Because it's going to require you to have a lot of patience. That's the truth of the matter is, like, unless you're having someone to fucking build it for you, some fucking shop that you want to throw down all this labor and all this stuff, you gotta have patience if you're building it yourself. Like, a lot of you guys here that are part of my community work on your own shit too, just like I do. And you will know that that shit tests you like a motherfucker, right? So you gotta stay committed to hitting your target. No matter what hurdles come your way, keep your eyes on the prize and don't you fucking quit. Keep pushing through and overcoming those obstacles, because if you let those obstacles stop you in your tracks, come until a halt and put you on zero, then do you really want it bad enough? Or are you just willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish what you fucking started? Remember why you started. Remember, think about, envision, feel it, how it's gonna fucking feel, how it's gonna like be when you accomplish your shit and you're out on the road fucking ripping it. Think about that when you don't want to work on it. Put yourself in that state of mind so that you can give yourself a boost so that you can go fucking get shit done. Right? I promise you that when you're out making pulls, it's gonna all make sense. Because to most of us, not saying most of us, but to most people, it doesn't make sense, right? Most don't understand why we put in so much blood, sweat, and tears into these builds. You know, most don't see it. Most see it as a financial irresponsibility. They just don't fucking get it. You see, the seas will get rough on you, but that's what makes a skillful failure. A skillful sailor. If you fucking stop, you will become a failure. But we're here to ride the shit out of these rough seas and become a skillful sailor. You know, all this talk about letting the boost load really just came inspired by helping one of my good friends, one of my best friends, out with his Turbo LS Monte Carlo SS. Fucking badass ride, man. Super badass ride. And we've been actually thrashing on it almost every single weekend for the last couple of months. And there have been many times already when it seemed like, all right, okay, today's the day we're going to go out for a test ride. But trying to resolve issue after issue after issue after issue, that fucking phrase of tonight we're going to go for a test ride just became the game that we would play every time that we set out time to really go work on his build. You see, the Monte Carlo SS used to run, but it had been sitting for like 2, maybe 3 years or so, something like that. And there were several times, several items, a lot of items, you know, not a lot, but there were a big, pretty significant list that needed to be addressed before we could actually go drive it, right? And I wanted to go, I wanted him to go drive, I wanted to go enjoy. He fucking had just been sitting forever. And now it's Turbo LS, and shit's raw as fuck. I wanted to fucking help him, right? So like everything else, we made a list, we started knocking the shit down, and we got to work one item at a time, right? Since the car, after it was tuned, like the car sat with E85 in the tank, we had to really flush out the entire fuel system, get out all that junk that gets built up in the lines because it had been sitting for like 2, maybe 3 years, probably 3 or some shit like that, right? And so cleaned up all the fuel system. He sent the injectors out to get cleaned because they were in bad shape. They were actually in so bad shape that several of them ended up being clogged and not working. So then he ended up having to purchase a new set of injectors. Then when he got the set of injectors, they sent him the wrong injectors, and then he had to go and get some adapters to be able to make those injectors work, right? And then we got the car fired up, but then we noticed that the radiator was leaking, so it's like a big, there goes the emotional roller coaster ride, right? So we started to address that leak of the radiator, and so what he did is he ended up ordering a new radiator for it. But what happened is that he had dash 20 in fittings for the coolant line, and so he had to get new weld bungs welded on the radiator so that you can screw on the dash 20 fittings, right? And he actually had a dash 20 on the bottom, and he had on the top, and then he had like a little ghetto uh, homemade version of some coolant hose routing on the bottom. So we changed that out. We wanted to put both of them in fittings, and so after a week of waiting for the new radiator to come in, it was another week to actually wait for it to get fabricated with the ends on that we needed. And then we tried to fucking build the new radiator lines that really was going to make the routing easier, and then we're just going to give the car a way cleaner look. But then that taught us a fucking big ass lesson too, right? Literally building the fittings. I had never built these massive AN fittings. Like the dash 20 is fucking huge. Like we literally busted the new fitting, just trying our fucking hardest to get it back in, to get it in, to install it, to crimp the fitting onto the hose. It was a mission, and we broke the fitting, and then so then we had to order another fitting, and then that set us back another week, right? And then what we learned when doing these huge ass fucking fittings, because he hadn't done these huge ass fittings. The largest I had done till then was like a dash 8, maybe a dash 10, and that was a little bit challenging. But I learned that it's a must to have a vise that's bolted down onto a surface, not a loose vise. Vise is bolted onto a surface, and then that surface needs to be bolted down to the floor so that you can crank the shit out of it with a wrench without having any issues in the table moving. Because if the vise is bolted down to the table, but the table's not bolted down, the table's gonna fucking move when you start wrenching that shit hard as fuck. And so you have to have it bolted down. Those dash 20 AN fittings require a shitload of fucking force to clamp them down, and so we learned that along the way. Someone had told us that, and we're like, we could fucking make it happen. But and what happened is that my boy didn't have a workbench that we could bolt down a vise to. So at the beginning, we ended up using like his tow truck and putting it into one of the booms, and kind of, but it was moving around, and that's why we ended up breaking the fitting. So then what we ended up doing is we found online this nice vise that it goes into the hitch of your truck, and then we could use the vise. I highly doubt that we're gonna move the fucking truck as we tie down this fucking fitting. So I said, yo, let's go with that. That shit has to work. And so after waiting for the new fittings and then waiting for the new vise to arrive, we got those fairly done quickly. But we had to fucking wait. That's more weeks that we had to wait, right? And the bad part is that it took us several weeks just waiting for all these parts, and just week after week after week. And you're like, oh man, but it adds up fast. 4 weeks in a month. If we easily 4 issues, that's 1 month, and then a couple more, that's 2 months. Like, bro, it's been a couple months, but pretty cool tool, though, let me tell you. That vise that you put onto the hitch, man, it was a game changer, right? The good thing that now we have a portable vise that we can take for the racetrack if we ever need one, right? And then after that, he noticed that the steering rack was all messed up. It was super loose, so he wanted to change that out as well. And then while pretty much a lot of the front end components were off, like he was like, yo, this is already off. Like, we're already here. Like, bro, I want to install these new headlights. He had got some new headlights, and then one of them that had like a hole in it that replaced the headlight so they could, so the turbo could fucking intake fresh air from the front. He wanted to put that on, but then to put that on, we had to remove the front bumper. And then so he was like, yo, and then while we're already removing the front bumper, like, can you please help me and cut a hole in the front bumper so that the intercooler can have direct airflow? And so we take care of that also. And it was literally like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And it was crazy because when we started, we made our original list. We're like, oh, there's a couple items. We could fucking knock this down in a weekend. And it took us a couple months to get this shit running. And it seemed really like the list just keep getting larger instead of smaller for some reason. Every time we jump into a hurdle, we needed something else, and we needed something else. And then it was really in the opposite direction where we needed to go. We want that list to get smaller, not larger, right? And the thing was that, man, I could only help him on the weekends, and most of the time he could only work on the project on the weekends. He's a busy guy. He works. He has a company, and I work too. And I fucking do the podcast, and I have bro. I have a lot of fucking shit going on. I was training for the Ironman triathlon. I was doing all this shit at just very limited amount of time. So every time that we would run into a problem that we needed to figure something out or needed to order more parts, it would literally set us back 1 week minimum because we could only go work on it. Typically, we'll work on Saturday nights. And so every time something would come up, all right, order it during the week, I'll come back next week. And so it's literally 1 week at a time. And so this really dragged out the process a lot, right? To be completely transparent, it tested the shit out of our patience like a motherfucker. I know it tested mine, and I could fucking see him. He's like, fuck. He was eager to drive this shit. We were so fucking close, especially once we could turn it on and it was just like front end components and everything. I was like, yo, we're almost right there, right? But we just kept fighting. And we kept plugging away little by little, one night at a time, right? And then the other night, we had only a couple items left on the list to finally go out for a test ride, man. And I was like, yo, today's the day. And I just had some shit come up, and I ended up getting to his house late, and I was like, fucking. But we were just, as soon as I got there, we started working on his car right away, and we started knocking things out. And then by the time that we were ready to start up the Monte Carlo, like, man, it was like 1:30 a.m. It was almost 2, like, and his fucking car is loud. Like, it has no muffler. Like, being a race car, the exhaust goes from the engine straight to the turbo, and then from the turbo straight out to the fender, and it's fucking loud. And it was super quiet around his neighborhood. I mean, imagine, it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and now we're about to start up a loud ass race car. But we were ready, bro. We were ready. We didn't want to wait any longer. Fucking another week. We're like, bro, every time it's another week, it's another week. So we're like, yo, fuck this shit. We're gonna do it. And so we fucking started it up, and the car, boom, started up with no issues. And so, at least no issues that we could tell at the moment, right? There were no immediate leaks. It was not overheating right away. Like, the fans were turning on. Everything was fucking working. And we're like, yo, we let the car idle for a little bit. And he was like, yo, I gotta cut it off. It's fucking late. I don't want to be that dickhead. Probably my neighbors already think, because he always has loud cars there, But it was late and it was quiet. And so we turned off the car and we looked around, make sure no leaks, nothing immediate that we could tell, right? So then what we did is we fucking loaded up a whole bunch of spare tools in his car, pushed it out because it hadn't been driven in like almost 3 years. Pushed that thing out all the way to the front of his house, and then turned it on and went out for a test drive, right? And the goal was really to go towards the test ride. Was like, yo, it was low on fuel already because we had bought some fuel and they were all starting it up. So the goal was just to go to the local E85 station, put some fuel, check things out at the gas station, that make sure that there's light and there's nothing really going on, and then come back home. It was just a fucking test drive, right? And so before getting to the gas station, though, like we were at a light, and I started noticing a lot of smoke coming from the engine bay, and I was like, oh shit. So I got off real quick, and I looked, I put my phone with the flashlight, and sure enough, I saw a whole mess of burning oil coming from the engine, and I was like, yo, the valve cover is leaking. So we pulled over to check things out real quick. That's when I noticed that both sides of the valve covers were leaking, and I was like, fuck, they were leaking pretty bad. And we're already like almost to the gas station, so we're like, yo, fuck it, let's just go to the gas station. Let's get out of the road. It's fucking late. We don't want to get sideswiped, all this shit. And so we just fucking rode it like that to the gas station, right? And then literally as we pulled into the gas station, man, there was like a cop parked there, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's gonna give us trouble, because we were here in a Monte Carlo SS, loud as fuck, a bumper exit, no hood, like it just looked rowdy, super rowdy race car. But he didn't bother us. We fucking pulled up. My boy actually pulled up right in front of him to the spot, and we just did our thing, and he didn't even bother us. It was actually cool. And so we got off. We got some tools, and he started to tighten all the valve cover bolts, and they were loose. And we thought we cleaned everything up the best we can. We thought we had fixed the issue. So we put fuel and we left. And then on the way home, I see the smoke coming again, and it fucking was doing it again. And then we also noticed that the transmission cable for the manual shifter, because it has a manual valve body shifter, it needed to be adjusted, because how it wouldn't go into gear the first time that you would hit the lever. Like, it's a 3-speed. So every time you want to go to second, you have to go 1, 2, second, and then third, 1, 2, and then it would go to third. So it was all messed up. So it needed to be adjusted. And so we had to take care of that. So now we had the oil leaking for the valve covers, and we had to adjust the transmission shifter so that the transmission can shift good. But on the way home, we fucking stepped on that shit, like maybe a little bit, okay, several times, like we fucking stepped on that shit several times, but it was fucking needed. That car needed to, stretch his legs a little bit, like, and it was super sketchy because that shit was leaking oil. It hadn't been driven. It had some old ass fucking tires, and we probably should have waited until we resolved that oil leak. But man, we just wanted to feel the boost. We wanted to feel some power. We wanted to see how this car performed. And I know definitely my buddy was like, yo, I need to fucking feel this shit. It's been years since I drove in this shit, right? And so the last time that it got tuned, he didn't even get to drive it after it got tuned because they towed it to his house, and then from there it sat and he started doing some other things. He moved shops, all this stuff. And then back then it had made like a high 700 horsepower. And so we wanted to feel that fucking horsepower for at least a second or two. So we fucking got on that shit a couple times. Sketchy, but we got on it, right? And when the power came in, bro, that car would fucking lift up in the front. Whoa! Sick as fuck. Raw turbo Monte Carlo SS. That shit is gangster. And it's sketchy though because it's an older car. No, those G bodies have like a lot of a body roll, so it's fucking sketchy, right? But it was actually going pretty straight for what it was. You would hear wow spin and it just keep going, make boost, fucking rowdy, right? And so when we pulled into my boy's house, bro, like I still remember he doesn't show a lot of excitement very often, and when we pulled in, he was so excited. He was just uncontrollable. Like fucking gave me a hug, yo, thank you, all this stuff, and I was just hadn't seen my buddy this happy in a really long fucking time, and it fucking definitely made all those long ass nights worth it to me. I know it did. Just seeing him and seeing the progress and seeing how we persevered, seeing how he persevered to get this shit going to where it was amazing, right? And yes, the car still needs to be figured out. It still needs to be taken care of, those issues that we found. Plus, I'm sure we're gonna find more along the way. But we fucking drove that bitch, man. Right? The momentum has been built, and now we're closer than ever to being able to fucking make some full boost passes with it, right? And I told him the other day, I was like, yo, this shit's kind of sketchy. Like for that first one that you can fucking get a hold of it, like I'll step out, I'll film, but you gotta go. Because it is sketchy, but it's raw, right? But the moral of the story here that I'm trying to relay to you, my brother, is all about patience and perseverance, right? It's about embracing your aggressive patience, having aggressive patience, and really just riding with that. And always remember to have aggressive patience while you finish your ride. And aggressive patience means that you're patient while still making moves towards getting you towards that finish line, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, be patient, but then be patient and they don't do shit. No, you want to do things that you want to put in work, you want to take actions that are going to get you closer to that fucking goal that you want, right? To driving your ride, to whatever it is for you. But be patient because things will go not the way you expect them to, right? Don't give up. Keep trying to get it. And when you get pissed, because you will get fucking pissed, walk away if you have to. It helps. Just walk away, take a breather, take your mind off of it, like get some water, do whatever you got to do, but keep plugging away at the list. Because if you never get the items done, then will you ever be able to drive it? I promise you this, my friend. For true motorheads like us, all those long nights, all those hours that we put in, all those fucking blood, sweat, and tears will be all worth it once you're out ripping your fucking ride. I say, let the boost load and drive, baby. Fucking drive. Yo, I'm driving the checkered flag deep into the ground, and I'm calling all the motorsport enthusiasts who want to improve their situation. Let's break free from all the shit that's been holding us back, and let's become the badass motherfuckers that we're all meant to be. Breaking the stereotype is exactly what we're here to do. This movement is called Live Your Life Wide Open, and helping others level up is the mission that God has tasked us with. Join me on this journey while we help our people to do more and to be more. My brother, and if you still haven't subscribed yet, man, go ahead and smash that button so you never miss another episode. And if you connected with today's message, if you resonated with today's message, if you've been building some shit that has been just fucking getting in your feelings, man, do me a favor. Go ahead and share this on your story and tag me at Wide Open Randy, because those are the actions that help more gearheads like us to see and hear about this podcast. And ultimately, that's how our community grows. I'll catch up with you on the next episode. But till then, live your life wide open, my friend. Peace.